Well, what's going wrong in our education system will be a battleground issue this year. Already we've seen major policy announcements trying to stem falling attendance rates and addressing declining literacy standards. Hamish Brewer is known as the Relentless Principal. He's a Kiwi who's been turning around some of America's toughest schools, and he joins us now. Good morning, Hamish.
Good morning, Rebecca. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. You know, I was thinking about, there are lots of differences, right, between the US education system and the New Zealand education system, but there are some universal themes, aren't there? Working in communities where there's high poverty, there's crime, there's sort of social issues, and kids are disengaged.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I think while there are some differences, there's so many similarities. You know, we're here for children. We want an outstanding educational opportunity for our students. You know, we're chasing our students for attendance, for engagement, for a love of school, making sure the system is meeting their needs so that they can be successful in higher education and post-secondary education, yeah. And
you were working in the US most recently with 11 to 14-year-olds, but you've also worked in primary as well, elementary. Yes. That is a group here that is really in crisis. They seem to be engaged, you know, in primary, but then they really fall off the cliff at that sort of 11, that intermediate age.
Right.
What do you know about that stage for kids?
You know, I think we have to challenge the system right now, because what we're doing is we're working almost in an archaic system. Our kids are not growing up the way we all went to school, how we learnt. It's a whole different environment, learning environment. Children have instant access to information. We can almost outsource ourselves based on that ability, right? And so we have to engage our students to make sure that they're connected to their learning. But at the end of the day, fundamentally, we have to ask ourselves, are we problem solving? Are we critical thinking? Are we creating collaborators and communicators with the ability to apply knowledge and to be able to exercise the right to great opportunities later on, and making sure there's pathways? Like, we're limiting pathways and opportunities for our kids at times.
So how do you sort of re-engage or keep kids engaged? What is the key to that for you? That's what you're famous for.
You know what? First of all, school should be fun. School should be fun. And can I give a shout out to all our educators and principals out there that are working incredibly hard right now for students. The times that we've been through are unprecedented, historical. There was no playbook for them to try and engage post-COVID here like this. We're figuring it out, right? I think that school should be fun, but fundamentally, instruction should be great. It should be rigorous. It should be high-end. It should be creative. There should be opportunities for students to play, to explore, to learn like that. I think one of the things we have to ask ourselves in terms of that is, people are like, well, how did you get kids to read? How did you get kids to learn to, do math and writing? Well, it comes down to this. Right now, we're seeing so many students struggling with school, crying out for help because they have a basic acquisition of skill set loss, right? And making sure that we're focusing on the basic acquisition of skills so that they can apply knowledge and apply their ability to learn, read, and write. And we can't teach basic acquisition of skill set in isolation. We have to teach it interconnected with our curriculum, and creating engaging experiences for that to happen. People are like, how did you get kids to learn to read? I put books in their hands. We were reading all day long. We weren't making excuses. We were making sure that their time was valued, teachers' time was valued, instructional time was protected, and ensuring that we were making the most of every minute for learning.
And you see a real turnaround in the schools that you've been in, and just school spirit as well. Right.
Students feeling connected to their school, amplifying the voice of our students, advocating for our students, protecting their individuality and identity. It's their greatest gift. Taking care of students to ensure that they feel valued, seen, and heard. Kids today are asking that question: where's my value? Do I feel seen? Do I feel heard? Do I feel loved? And that's what every parent wants. Parents want to know that when their students come to school, that they feel loved, they feel seen, they feel heard. Parents wait up late at night wondering, is my student safe? Are they being picked on? Are they being bullied? There's no place for that. The trauma our students have been through in the last few years is going to be generational for years to come. It's a crisis.
Yeah.
We have to be prepared to step in and take action.
Well, we're not used to talking about love when it comes to school. Do you think we could be better at that?
You know what? Everybody's like, Hamish, you're rocket science, what you've done. No, it's not. It's about whānau. It's about community. It's about putting love at the centre of the work that we do each and every day. You know, one of my marquee things was telling students, if somebody didn't tell you today that they love you, Mr. Brewer's telling you today that he loves you. You know, and when kids come back and they say, Mr. Brewer, I love you. Thank you for standing up for me. Thank you for protecting me, nurturing me. There's not a parent or a teacher that doesn't love that.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that, and it's, you know, it's a powerful thing, isn't it, just to start the day?
Well, love is undisputed. It's stood the test of time. And we live in a world that is becoming increasingly more divisive, and we need to make love the centre of that work, more so than ever before.
Well, I want to talk to you, like what we seem to be seeing from the government and from the opposition and all of the parties in Parliament actually at the moment is more of the same sorts of policies, trying to arrest literacy and attendance rates. They're thinking of truancy officers, playing with those teacher ratios a little, more testing, prescribed reading, writing and math. Is that enough?
No, you know what? I think we're avoiding the actual real work that we have to do. We have to get back to a high trust model for principals and teachers. Teachers are crying out for help. Teachers are saying, give me the resources, give me the funding, give me the opportunity to do what I do best, which is teach. I think yesterday I heard the St Cuthbert's principal come live on radio and talked about the lack of coherence in our curriculum. She's 100% right. We can't continue to have gaps. We can't continue to combine curriculum. You can't combine curriculum key concepts in math and science and expect us to do great with that. We have to teach it rigorously. It's high stakes for our kids. It's a matter of urgency. The most important resource we have, Rebecca, is people.
Yeah.
The most important resource we have in New Zealand is our youth. It's the students coming through when we're long gone who are going to be solving tomorrow's problems. And we have to make sure we're giving them the skill set and the ability to acquire that knowledge and implement that knowledge to be successful for us.
And what we're hearing from teachers is that they're burned out. You know, we're seeing teachers striking as well. This is what you're saying is you need to empower those teachers.
I think we have to amplify and advocate for the voices of our teachers, for our leaders, for our principals, to ensure that they have the opportunity to do what they do best, which is teach. Like when you hear principals saying that the ministry is not necessarily listening to the curriculum experts when it's coming to putting together a new framework, a new curriculum, that's a problem. These people are curriculum experts. When as a principal, a core part of my work was ensuring that my teachers had voice because they were experts in that curriculum. We need to trust them to be able to do the work that they need to do.
What do you think about our obsession with testing?
You know what? I am for some accountability. I'm not against accountability because the way I looked at accountability, it was the day my school got to show off. It was a day we put on display the great instruction, the rigorous activity, and we competed against a minimal proficiency test. Now, we cannot test our way out of a pandemic, and you can't spend the entire year testing. What we need to do is understand what is the right assessment to ensure we get the right information, to have a laser target, a laser focus on our kids' progress.
And what is the one thing that you would do, looking at the New Zealand education system? What is the one thing that you would do if you were the Minister of Education?
Let's keep it simple, silly. Let's get back to basics. Let's fundamentally focus in on those key concepts of reading, writing, and math. Let's make sure that our curriculum is embedded in problem-solving, critical thinking, collaborating, communicating, and making sure that they have that ability to be creative. If we're asking our amazing teachers to teach out of textbooks, to teach stagnant like that, we're losing the magic of the number 8 wire, Rebecca. That's what made us special. That's what makes New Zealand special, is our ability to look at something, look at a problem, critical think, problem solve it, and be creative outside of that box. That's what makes us special. That's what, look, education in New Zealand is a national treasure. We've been at the forefront of education for years. We want to be back there. We need to be back on top, and we should demand that for our kids.
And what should we do? Is it necessary then to have some cohesion between the political parties? Because one wants to do it this way and then another comes in, I'm going to change the system. It keeps chopping and changing.
Education often comes in cycles. There's hot topics that revolve around, I never thought I'd say the day that I've been in education long enough to say, well, that's what we were talking about 20 years ago. And we're talking about it again. Education can't be a political football. It can't be a political narrative. It's a New Zealand national conversation with parents, teachers, principals, leaders, politicians, everybody standing up to say, we got to do great things for our kids. We got to do great things for our country because that's A, what's going to set us apart, and B, if we want to compete in the future and we want to keep New Zealand at the forefront of what's happening, we need to make education the priority. And you can't just make it up, right?
You've got me excited about it all over again. Hamish, thank you so much for joining us here on The Nation this morning.
Thank you.